Jay here from Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio. You know what to do by now. Get involved in the comments and the chat and let us know what you think about all the latest Manchester United news. Let us know if you've actually got some Manchester United news, if you are ITK. We're going transfer crazy because that season is upon us. It is the transfer season almost. So we're going to be talking about Harry Kane. We're going to be talking about Mason Mount. We're going to be talking about Rasmus Hojlund. Could be something happening there, and we'll have a little bit more on that later on as well, plus a few others as well, so make sure you are joining in with the chat. Loads of people already in the chat as well. Danny Inns, Martin P, Rebecca Jade O'Sullivan, Rory Mohan, Jamie White, BMW Racing 1974. Good to see you all. Don't forget as well to hit that like button. Give us a like as well. Should we start off with a little bit about Mason Mount that sort of leads to something else? You can see it here. This is from the Express. Jack Otway in the Express says Manchester United want quick second signing in addition to Mason Mount transfer. And if we're going to scroll down there, it says you can see Manchester United are hoping to sign a second player in addition to Mason Mount prior to their pre-season tour this summer, according to reports. Erik ten Hag is eager to land the Chelsea star as he looks to win the Premier League title next season, and the 24-year-old won't be the only fresh face who rocks up at Old Trafford either, regardless of the takeover uncertainty that surrounds the club. Really interesting point that, because Jamie Jackson, who was on the channel last night from The Guardian, he made that sort of comment as well. He was speaking about there's a lot of attention and reports and sort of discussion around the ownership and how that's going to affect the transfer budget. But United will still have a transfer budget. Yes, it should be a lot more if we've got a new owner in who's going to say, okay, I want, some marquee signings. But also FFP is a thing as well. So it can't, it's not like a new owner can come in and do what Chelsea did last summer, where you spend last summer in January, I should say, where you spend 600 million. Chelsea got around a lot of that when it came to FFP by dishing out these ridiculously long-term contracts. You've seen it was like the lad Mudryk, I think, was on an 8-year deal. They did deals like that because it sort of was a loophole within the FFP rules, but that loophole has been closed. So there is going to be a limit, but there's also going to be some budget available. Plus, there's the fact that United may have to sell a few players too. Obviously, we want the takeover done. I'm not saying we don't, and it would give us a lot more clarity and hopefully more funds, but there should still be some money available. Certainly enough for Mason Mount and maybe, there's got to be one or two others as well, because I just don't envisage a scenario where Manchester United do not buy a striker this season. You see it says, and the Athletics say the Red Devils want a second player to sign on the dotted line before they jet off their pre-season tour next month. It is unclear who United will look to bring in as well as Mount, though Harry Kane is another player firmly in their sights. I'll get into the Harry Kane story in a little while as well, because there's a bit of an update on that. So we will have a bit more chat around Harry Kane. But it's important as well that we try and get deals done early where possible. I think it's always a good look if you can get players in and then they can spend time with their new teammates in pre-season. It's not the be-all and end-all. Casemiro came in after the season started and was fantastic, but it did take him a few games to get going, to be fair. But we've had players like Anthony came in and he hit the ground running. I think he scored 4 Premier League goals, or 3 or 4 Premier League goals in his first 3 games. I can't remember the exact figure, but he certainly was amongst the goals early doors. You don't have to join straight away and have a pre-season to be successful, but it helps. It does help if you can go on the tour, play in those games. We've got some big games coming up, obviously, on pre-season. I think we've got Dortmund, we've got Arsenal, we've got Wrexham, which I think is going to be the Rezzies, to be fair. So there's some games there where I think we've got Real Madrid as well. So there's games there where new signings can come in, learn about the team, learn about the teammates, just get used to being a Manchester United player, because Mason Mount, obviously coming from Chelsea, much smaller club than Manchester United, he won't know what's hit him when he arrives at United and he sees just how big and passionate our fan base is. Another player we've been linked with, and this one came a little bit out of the blue, is Goretzka. You can see here, there's a tweet here. This is from Florian Plettenberg. Now, I know Florian, we've had him on the channel a few times. Remember when all the Mason, no, not the Mason Mount, hang on a minute, all the Jadon Sancho stuff was popping off. Florian Plettenberg came on the channel quite a lot to give us an update on that, and he knows his stuff when it comes to German football. He's a reporter out there. He does stuff for Sky. He used to be at Sport 1, now he's doing stuff for Sky. Very talented journalist who is proper ITK on what's going on over in Germany. Now, he says Leon Goretzka could be coming to United. It's not likely at the minute. It could happen, but if you look at the tweet there, it says, Goretzka, Man United is monitoring his situation. He's aware of the fact that his future is uncertain because of Rice. Declan Rice, of course, has been linked with a move to the Allianz Arena. So the feeling there is if Declan Rice goes to Munich, maybe Goretzka comes to Old Trafford. But it's worth sort of adding, but no concrete talks or negotiations yet. Goretzka is staying calm and his position is clear. He definitely wants to stay as he identifies 100% with FC Bayern, and Rummenigge supports him. So he's got the support. I think Karl-Heinz Rummenigge was like, is he the chief executive or whatever he is? Plus, he's obviously well respected there. However, maybe something could change if Declan Rice did go over to Munich. We saw it with Sabitzer. We got Sabitzer on loan because at one point Sabitzer was like the darling of German football. I know he's Austrian, but he was very, very well respected. Went to Bayern Munich. Then all of a sudden he's not getting in a team that regularly. He's got players like Kimmich and Goretzka in front of him. Comes to United, and until he got injured, I thought he was doing a decent job. Goretzka would be a great signing for Manchester United, but at the moment, there's lots of ifs and buts and maybes, and there's not much fire to that smoke. It's one of those where you file on under keep an eye on. And I'm sure that Florian will be all over that if anything does pop off. And also, if it does look like it's going to happen, we'll get him on the channel. We'll have a chat with him as we often do. Loads of people joining in the chat as well. Good to see you all. Let us know what you think about Mason Mount. What do you think about Goretzka? Do you expect Mason Mount to come first of all? Because that one looks like it's got a lot of legs, doesn't it? I think the latest reports indicate that United were looking to spend around 50 million quid on him, which I think is reasonable. I know he's only got a year left on his deal, but he's 24 years old. He's English. He's an England international. There's always an English tax. He's I nearly said a World Cup winner. He's a Champions League winner. And he's a player, despite not having a great season this last season, has had good seasons and has had seasons where he's put up some decent numbers and seems to fit the mould of what Erik ten Hag is looking for as well. I'll admit, I'm not going to change what I said. I was a little bit underwhelmed when we got linked with him, but I'll always back this manager, and if the manager wants him, I get it. And also, if you can bring in a player who doesn't cost a fortune, that should allow you to have funds for other players as well. Kobe Antwi says, why are we quiet about Tielemans? I'm not a big fan of Yuri Tielemans. I think he's all right. I think he had a decent season a couple of seasons ago when he scored obviously in the FA Cup final, and we were linked with him then. I just feel he's been a bit mediocre for far too long for me. Now, you could argue that he's suffering from being in a poor team, but I like to see players step up a bit more, and I don't think he steps up enough in that Leicester team for me. You look at someone like James Maddison. James Maddison did step up at times in that team. Probably not as consistent as he needed to be, but he was one of the best players for them, and I don't think you can point a finger at him and go, well, he's the reason they got relegated. But when it comes to Tielemans, I just don't know if we've seen enough from him. Manish Bandari says, Jay, who do you prefer, Mount or Maddison? Chelsea stalling us. Should we move for Maddison for cheaper option? I prefer Caicedo, either for 80 million. I'd love to see Moises Caicedo come to Manchester United. I don't see it happening. Also, Maddison, there was a time when we were linked with him a few years ago. I remember doing a debate about him. Don't think it's going to happen anymore. I don't see any real sort of stories or rumours or reports where I say, oh, look, that seems to indicate that we are in for James Maddison. It's all gone quiet. Hit that like button, people. Let's get to 200 likes. Loads of people in the chat. Sorry, I'm just looking at some of them here. Pete, he says, don't like the way Tielemans threw the towel in the season. Yeah, I feel like he did a little bit, didn't he? I mean, if you've watched a lot of Leicester, let me know. Am I being a bit harsh on Tielemans there? Did he have a decent season, or was he just suffering from the fact that Leicester was struggling? Let me know, because I haven't watched a lot of Leicester, but when I have, Tielemans, for a lot of the games I've seen him in, he just seems to be a bit of a passenger. So, I don't know. It's not someone that I'd really want at United. He's not someone I go, yeah, we've got to get you with Tielemans. If the manager wanted him, as always, I'll back him, but at the minute, it doesn't look like he does. Aprit Kuresta, sorry, I butchered that one. It says, Frimpong coming, ? Just on the right-back situation, we know Diogo Dalot, I think, signed a new deal. Aaron Wan-Bissaka seems to be the preferred right-back in a minute. I wouldn't be surprised if we don't buy right-back this summer. I think a few months ago, it looked like Aaron Wan-Bissaka was going to leave, and it looked like Manchester United were linked with a lot of right-backs for a reason. We were linked with Denzel Dumfries. We were linked with Jeremy Frimpong as well, because obviously the manager saw that as an area he wanted reinforcements in. Now, however, it just seems to have cooled a little bit, and I think with the priorities being a striker, another midfielder, possibly even a goalkeeper as well, because Erik ten Hag's indicated he wants someone to challenge David De Gea if David De Gea does stay on, which the latest reports indicate he may sign a new deal on reduced terms. Then is a right back a priority? I'm not so sure. Dan McGrath says, buy Kane or it's no title challenge for another season. Yash Nervaka says, Ruben Neves, question mark. Neves is another one. He's a little bit like Maddison. A few years ago, that looked like it was going to happen. Now it's cooled. I don't see it happening. Let us know if you think otherwise. If you've got any stories, if you've got any questions, please hit the chat. And whilst you're on the chat as well, make sure you are hitting that like button. And if you've not done it, subscribe to the channel. Let's get to 700,000 subscribers. We've got loads of stories, loads of videos, loads of podcasts coming up. We'll be having the breaking news all over the summer as well. We'll also be on the tour, following the team as well. So you don't want to miss out on anything. Hit that subscribe button. Right, let's talk about this other kid, Brian Gutierrez. I don't know a lot about him. I'm not going to pretend I do. This is a story, as you can see, from the Daily Mail. It says, United, RB Leipzig and Dortmund are among the clubs interested in Chicago Fire's 19-year-old USA star, Brian Gutierrez. This is interesting. Gutierrez has already made 74 appearances for Chicago at the age of 19. So he's played a lot of games. He's a midfielder. Looks like there may be issues around a work permit, though. That could be the fly in the ointment there. Can we get a work permit for him? The only sort of reason I think this kind of makes sense is if you are going to bring in players, if you have a limited budget or if you have to sort of do a little bit of money balling at times, then bringing in a youngster who is relatively unproven, no disrespect to the MLS, could make sense. The questions are, can we get his signature ahead of the likes of Dortmund and Leipzig, because German football is quite a good league for youngsters, and also can we sort out work permit? We've had issues around work permits in the past, don't forget. I remember years and years ago, was it Michael Essien was at United and we couldn't sign him because of a work permit? That really annoyed me and it still frustrates me to this day. However, could this be an option for us? I'm not so sure, but it's worth keeping an eye on because it's obviously being reported. Young player, played a lot of football, who knows what the future may hold. Could we buy a youngster and then sort of loan him out as well? That could be an option. A lot of people not feeling this one. Harry says, no interested in buying from the MLS. Colm Gerati says, we don't want MLS. Lightbringer says, acknowledge one of my comments and I'll hit that like button, lol. Okay, done. Now you've got to keep up your side of the bargain, please. Thank you. Exit Light says, Aussie Ange going from strength to strength. Yep, Ange Palos. I'm not even going to attempt his name. The guy who's Celtic manager and who was the Australian manager is going to Spurs. Is that going to be enough to keep Harry Kane there? We'll have to wait and see. Before we get to Harry Kane, let's talk about Rasmus Hojlund. There's a tweet here from TalkSport. I'm always a little bit wary of listening to what TalkSport have got to say. I never listen to what they've got to say on the debate shows and all the arguments they have because it's usually just United bashing. But when it comes to the stories as well, sometimes they get it right, sometimes they don't. They're saying here, breaking, MUFC are ready to ramp up interest in Atalanta striker Rasmus Hojlund. The Danish international is valued at 40 million after being compared to Erling Haaland due to his eye for goal and aerial ability. Yeah, he's quite tall, this lad. I think he's 20 years old. He's about 6'3" as well, isn't he? So I can understand the links or the sort of comparisons with Erling Haaland. Young, Scandinavian, tall, goal scorer. It all makes sense. We're going to be speaking to a Danish football expert later today. Joe Smith's going to sit down with him and we're going to have a chat via Zoom about Rasmus Hojlund and whether he could come to Manchester United and whether, if he does, he'll be good enough to do a job. So make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe so you don't miss out on that. That interview will be up later on today and we can get the lowdown from someone who knows what they're talking about when it comes to Hojlund and just whether he's good enough. Because I'm not going to pretend to say that I've been watching Atalanta week in, week out. I am. All I know from this kid is what I've seen on clips and YouTube and stuff like that. And you're always a little bit wary of that. I remember, who was it I saw years ago? Oh, there was a player, I can't remember. Oh, that's going to bug me. I've seen a few players anyway, who you see them on YouTube and they look like world beaters. And then when it comes to the crunch, they're not that great. So we've had it a few times before. So I'm always a little bit... Gabriel Lobertan, that was the one I was thinking of. Gabriel Lobertan on YouTube clips looked amazing. And then when he came to United, it didn't really happen for him. So we'll get an expert in who's watched him week in, week out, who can tell us a lot about him and tell us whether he's good enough. Let us know in the comments. Maybe you've watched him. Maybe you know a little bit about him. Do you think he's good enough? It would make sense if Hojlund came in as a second option. Obviously, I wouldn't think he'd be the only striker we brought in. I'd really like us to go for someone like Harry Kane and bring in Rasmus Hojlund as a backup. But we'll have to wait and see whether that is going to happen. Stuart Thomas says Freddie Adu. I think this is a reference, obviously, to Gutierrez, because Freddie Adu, if you remember, was the sort of talk of the town, playing in the MLS at about 15. Everyone thought he was going to be the next big thing, and he just became a journeyman, didn't he? He just went to, I think he had about 20 clubs in the end, never really lived up to the expectation, was a bit of a shame, and he became a sort of figure synonymous with flattering to deceive. Let's talk about Harry Kane. Henry Winter says, it's Real Madrid. If Harry Kane has the chance, he has to take it. He needs medals as well as records. Spurs have to take the 100 million and give it to Ange Postecoglou to rebuild squad. And of course, it will not be that simple. Saga time. He's also put a hashtag in there of Real Madrid, Tottenham and United. Yeah, now with the Real Madrid thing, you look at it and you go, Real Madrid, you go there, you've not won anything, you're almost guaranteed to win big trophies. You go to Real Madrid, they win all the big honours, they do it regularly. If you're chasing trophies, there's few clubs in the world where you can go to that almost guarantee a trophy like Real Madrid do. However, there is a sort of twist in his tail. For starters, does Harry Kane want to move to Spain? That's the obvious question. I think he's got a family as well. I think he's got kids, or he's got at least a kid. That can be playing on your mind. Do you want to move your family over to a different country? We'll have to wait and see. You never know. He might be keen for that. He might not be. But it's a factor that needs to be considered. Also, the other one, if we can go to the MEN article here, there's something in the MEN which I think is sort of... This is an opinion one, right? So I'm always wary because it's an opinion. But this is something that we've discussed before. We were talking about this to Jamie Jackson yesterday when he was on it. Me and Joe spoken about it. And it's something that does seem to play a lot on Harry Kane's mind. And he speaks about it a lot. He gets asked about it a lot. So there could be something in this. The fact that if he does go to Madrid, then he misses out on the opportunity, realistically, to break the Premier League goal-scoring record. Because I think if you scroll up, we'll be able to see. I can't remember the exact figure. Yeah, he's... sorry, keep going on, scrolling up, keep scrolling up. I can't remember the exact figure. I think is he 37 goals, whatever he is. Sorry, I missed it. 37 goals or something like that. Oh, there it is. So he's on 213. He's 47 away from equaling it, 48 from breaking it. Now, if he was to sign for United, or if he was to stay at Spurs, for that matter, spend 2 or 3 more seasons at the top level, he could do that. He can do 48 goals in 2 seasons, Harry Kane in the Premier League, or even 48 goals in 3 or 4 seasons, whatever it took him to do it. He could do it, and he could become the Premier League's greatest ever goal scorer. However, if he goes to Madrid for a couple of seasons, does that happen? Now, the figures being bandied about for Harry Kane are anything from 80 million up to 120 million euros, I think. That is a lot for a player who's going to be 30 by the start of next season and also only has 1 year left on his contract. But Harry Kane is one of the few out-and-out proven goal scorers. He just is. He's up there with the likes of Erling Haaland and Karim Benzema and those types of players who just guarantees you a lot of goals. Now, Benzema, we know he's 34 and he's also going to Saudi Arabia. Erling Haaland's obviously at City. He's not going anywhere. So Harry Kane is one of the few strikers out there you can go, he's available. Victor Osimhen is one. The thing with Victor Osimhen, he's had a fantastic season. He hasn't had a fantastic set of seasons where he's consistently scored 30-odd goals every season. Harry Kane has. Harry Kane is one of those players, if you sign him, you know you are going to get goals no matter what. Also, his injury record is very good. Last few seasons, he's barely missed any games. He did used to have this reputation of always being injured, but I think if you look at his recent seasons, he's missed like 5 or 6 games in about 2.5 years. He's got a fantastic record when it comes to appearances, and that matters. Availability is the best ability, as Ronaldo Brown once said. So there's a lot of reasons to believe that Harry Kane coming to United makes sense. A lot of reasons to believe 100 million quid or whatever it is could make a lot of sense because he's guaranteed to give you goals. And as someone was saying in the comments earlier, maybe you need to spend that kind of money. Maybe you need to take a punt on a player who, yes, he'll be 30 years old by the time the season starts, but who else out there is available who can get you goals? And I think Harry Kane has got at least 2 seasons, if not more, left in him. Looks after himself, doesn't play as a striker who's all about pace. The strikers that are all about pace are the ones that tend to tail off when they get to 30 because they can't rely on the pace anymore. He's not really about that. He's a different type of striker. So it could work. Maybe I'm just trying to talk myself into it. We'll have to wait and see. Get involved in the chat in the comments and let us know what you think. Do you want to see Harry Kane? Do you think it could happen? Ben Sorville says, it still annoys me that Kane said he prefers England to his club on the overlap. Couldn't disagree with him more. That's up to him. One Puggy says, Jay, Rashford and Anthony don't really pass that much, so Kane may not get as many as you think. Who is number 9 for Manchester United at the minute? Who's been playing number 9 for Manchester United for most of the season? Andy Martial for a little bit of the season. Wout Weghorst for a lot of it. No disrespect to Wout Weghorst. It's a different dynamic if you look in the middle and you've got Wout Weghorst, and you look in the middle and you've got Harry Kane. It just is. Wout Weghorst literally scored no Premier League goals for Manchester United. Now, I like the kid, he put a lot of effort in and all that, but he's not a goal scorer. And if you're someone like Anthony or someone like Marcus Rashford, that's got to be in your mind. If you've got Harry Kane in there, it's a different story altogether. Marcus has played really well alongside Harry Kane for England. I think he can do it for Manchester United as well. Let's talk about Adrien Rabiot. We were linked with him last summer, and it looks like he's he's all ready to move to United this summer. It says Rabiot has his bags ready for United move. This has come from the Gazzetta dello Sport via the Manchester Evening News. It says United are reportedly in pole position to sign Adrien Rabiot this summer. Gazzetta dello Sport claims the French midfielder already had his bags ready after seeing out his Juve contract. Paris Saint-Germain are being linked with a reunion with their former player, but United are set to lead the way with regard to a potential deal. Makes a lot of sense, this one. When we were linked with him last season, I was a bit like, okay, seems all right. I'm not overly enamoured of that transfer, but it's not the end of the world if we get him. Makes a lot more sense, I think. If you can get a player like that, I think he's on a free as well. Got a lot of experience, ticks a certain box as well. Erik ten Hag obviously wants him, and if the manager wants him, that always makes you think there's something in that and he's worth getting. So why not? He would be a good option for Manchester United. We need more options in midfield. You saw it in the FA Cup final. It's so frustrating, the lack of options we've got. I know Marcel Sabitzer and Donny van der Beek were injured, but Donny van der Beek's not really done anything at United, if we're being brutally honest. And Marcel Sabitzer was a low move. He did okay, but then he got injured. You're bringing on McTominay, good lad. Is he at the levels that Manchester City have got in their midfield? Is he at the levels of perhaps other title-challenging teams? Probably not. Someone like Rabiot as an option, I think would be a very good option for Manchester United. Let me know what you think. Do you agree? He did used to have a bit of a reputation of being a little bit problematic, but I think that's by the by, to be honest with you. Glenn F. load of laughing emojis. Says Ten Hag starting out already, FFS. Teku Baby says Rabiot and Mount, laughing emoji. Peter Griffith says engine room needs strengthening. Prabhav Kandawali says, admittedly, he was good in the World Cup. He was. I don't like buying players off the World Cup, but there's other reasons to buy Rabiot, and he did have a good World Cup. Another player we've been linked with quite heavily is Kim Min Jae. He's a bit like Rabiot here, according to Get Italian Football News. It says Kim Min Jae bid farewell to his teammates on Sunday and collected farewell jerseys. Jerseys? Are we in America? Report Il Mattino. Packers were at his home yesterday, and he's now expected to join Man United right after his military training ends. I tell you what, there's a sentence you don't hear every day, do you? Packers were at his home yesterday, and he's now expected to join Man United right after his military training ends. Right, okay. Sounds like Stephen Howson. Right, well, looks like there's something in that. Kim Min Jae, been heavily linked with Manchester United for a little while. More or less a done deal, according to a lot of outlets. Would be a very good signing. Had a very good season at Napoli. John Shin, friend of the channel, looking forward to linking up with him when we go to America. He's been rapping about this kid for a little while. So go and check out John Shin's channel if you've not done already. Get the full lowdown. Also, Stephen Howson's done a few scout reports, I think. And we've had a few chats on him as well. I think McCullough and Joe Smith had a good chat about him on Uncensored. So we've got you covered there within the Stretford Paddock family when it comes to Kim Min Jae. I'd like to see him at United. I think it could happen. Just finally, as we used to say in news, Victor Lindelof is the best. That is the story. Lindelof was league's most accurate passer. Victor Lindelof has always been calm on the ball, but the Manchester United defender has come out on top for a key statistic when assessing the Premier League season in its entirety. The Sweden captain's passing accuracy eclipsed everyone else in 2023, showing how well he has adapted to Ten Hag's methods and performed impressively, particularly during the run-in. For instance, he misplaced only one of his 42 passes in our penultimate game of the league programme, the 4-1 triumph over Chelsea. It goes on to say, in total, 866 of the centre-back's 930 passes successfully picked out a teammate, meaning he edged ahead of City's Akanji and John Stones. The next two players were also from the Blues, Ruben Diaz and Rodri, with Nathan Ake, another player from our neighbours, getting into the top 10. So there you have it. Factually, Victor Lindelof is better than anyone City have got. And that is the real quiz. Make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe as well. Stuart Thomas says, can you tell my daughter Bella to go to bed, please, Jay? I can do. She won't listen to me. My own daughters don't listen to me, bro, when I say it's bedtime. So I doubt very much yours will But anyway, thanks for supporting the channel. Thanks for everyone who got involved in the comments and the chat. Like I said, we've got an interview with the Danish journalist coming up later on today. Joe Smith's going to be chatting to him about Rasmus Hojlund. We're also going to be having a look at Mason Mount, what he could bring to the Manchester United team. And if you've not done already, go and check out the videos with Kieran Maguire about the takeover and the podcast with Jamie Jackson. We have got you covered on this channel, so make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I'm Jay Motty. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.